Miami!
To mission control, we have the dial.
Phinhub! Phinhub! We talking Dolphins City! Phinhub, Phinhub! Yeah! It's that Dolphins Show! Phinhub!
Welcome to the Phinhub Show, the one NFL podcast you can't leave off your roster. Now here's your hosts, Joe and Kevin DeHaven.
All right. Welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of the Phinhub Show. We got a good one for you guys today, but before we get into that, let's... away, exactly. So, it's going to be a Dolphins jersey of your choosing. Sure, it's not too hard to believe. Not so much of a stretch there, but yeah. Dolphins jersey, you get to pick the player, you get to pick the color, whether it's teal or aqua.
Still cool. I mean, they can go crazy. Maybe get a Liam Eichenberg jersey. I think that'd be cool.
Liam Eichenberg, that'd be pretty sick, right?
Yeah, why not, right?
The Liam Eichenberg
Go
jersey
crazy.
could be yours, so make sure to leave a comment. So this is how you enter the giveaway. You got to be subscribed to the channel, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram, and make sure to leave some comments. Every single comment is one entry into the giveaway. So leave as many comments as you can, and you might be the lucky winner.
Woo, woo, woo.
Yeah. All right, let's get into some Dolphins talk, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
So the Dolphins had the most explosive offense in the NFL last season, but didn't have any touchdowns that were caught by a tight end.
Crazy to think, right?
Yeah, it's super weird. Like, how do you have that much production on offense, but one unit isn't productive at all in that offense? So obviously, the next step in this offense is to seek some production from that tight end room.
Yeah, and that's coming for sure. McDaniel was saying something about that too. It's something he wants to unlock. So it's cool seeing the couple guys that we brought in Jody Fortson and Jonu Smith. So yeah, maybe we can get into who we think is going to be in this tight end room, right? This coming season?
Yeah.
Right? So who – let's start with you.
Okay.
Who do you have making this team as far as the tight ends?
Well, I think it's pretty easy for me to go with this. I'm going to start with, obviously, Jonu Smith. He's a guy that you brought in, and you're looking to score points from that room. And this is a guy that's going to be able to do that. He has 21 touchdowns to his name in his career. So you know he's going to be able to score for you. He's a guy that can threaten the seams, put some pressure on the opposing linebackers, and add to that playmaking for the offense. You already got guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle out there. And this is a guy that can also scare defenses and take some of that pressure off of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. So I love the addition of Jonu Smith, and I'm really looking forward to see what he could do for the Dolphins along with Tua, and hopefully Tua can add on to that, add on to those 21 touchdowns this season for him.
Yeah.
At number 2, you obviously have old reliable Durham Smythe, and this is a guy who didn't have a lot of production on the offense, but it was his most productive season for the Dolphins. He accounted for 76% of the snaps on offense and also contributed on special teams. So he's another guy that's versatile. Like, you could use him in a few different ways. He helps with blocking on the run. And, a guy that could give you some production at the tight end level, at tight end, but just not on the level of a Jonu Smith. And then lastly, I had a hard time making my mind between Julian Hill and Jody Fortson, but I'm going to go with Jody Fortson.
Ooh.
Something that stuck out to me, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys saw it, was in OTAs, those playmaking abilities that he had, just going up there and grabbing that ball. That's something that the Dolphins have been missing for some time now.
Yeah, we've definitely lacked that
Yeah,
over the last few seasons.
Somebody that could do that for us back then was not way back, but Mike Gesicki.
Yeah.
He can go up and get that high ball. Eric Ezukama's another guy on the wide receiver room that could do that for you. But you know, his
Hey, the more the merrier, man. The red zone has been an issue for us, you know, as far as passing the ball. So someone that can high point the ball, I think it's cool to have Jody Fortson in that group.
very swaggy dude. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what he could do for the Dolphins. And yeah, that's basically the top 3 that I'm gonna roll with.
Nice. No, I mean, that's a really nice top 3, and the reason why I'm gonna say that is because I have the same exact top 3. So coming in at number 1, I have Jonu Smith. And Jonu Smith, what I like about him is that he's a versatile tight end. You know, in Tennessee, they would actually line him up at running back at times and have him do these crazy plays. But he's a big dude with a solid frame, kind of like, I'm not comparing him to Derrick Henry, but, you know, a big guy maybe can run up the middle and get you those tough yards as well.
That's
So
interesting.
you like to think that maybe Mike McDaniel will get creative with it. And like you said, Mike McDaniel hasn't had that tight end in a while, and he came from the 49ers, you know, essentially building that offense as well with George Kittle. So you got to think that he's been banging the table for someone that can maybe mimic what George Kittle was able to do. Not saying they're the same player, but someone of, you know, a decent caliber, you know, tight end. And then something interesting that I found when I was looking up his stats and all that was that he was 3rd in yak average behind only Kittle and Njoku. So Kittle coming up again. And he had 7.1 yards after the catch per reception. Now, to give you context to how good that is, it's better than basically Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, which were just under 6 last year. So, you know, for him to have that over those 2 guys, which we all know they're electric with the ball and they make anyone miss, it's adding context to how good he is at that. In that aspect of his game, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And it's something that we were lacking last year with Julian Hill and Durham Smythe. So if he can bring that in, that's awesome. Another thing that I love about him is his durability. You know, throughout his 7 seasons in the league, he averaged about 15 games a year. So basically, he'd play out the whole year. You know, he's never been riddled by injuries. So if he can come in and do that, it just adds that much value to an offense that is always hobbled, you know?
Yeah.
Coming in at number 2, I have, you know, basically a very reliable guy like you were saying in Durham Smythe. You know, a guy that's basically an inline tight end. He serves as a run blocker and a pass blocker primarily. So, you know, getting him involved in the passing game isn't really something that we look to do. So that's why you bring in a guy like Jonu Smith, and he can, you know, just tear it up and light people up in the pass game.
Yeah.
And then, you know, not really much else to say about that. Just a solid guy. Has a lot of experience here. Has had 2 years under Mike McDaniel. He's gonna coming into his 3rd year. So you'd like to think that he's gonna hit the ground running, and he knows exactly what he needs to do and what McDaniel expects out of him. So
Yeah, he's actually the longest tenured Miami Dolphin at the moment,
Crazy.
along with Jason Sanders.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy to think because, you know, I remember like it being yesterday when we drafted him.
Yeah.
Him and Mike Gesicki together, more or less. So, yeah, it's kind of cool to see that he's been able to stick around and, you know, basically make a career out of being just a really solid guy.
Yeah.
And then at number 3, like I said, same exact list. I have Jody Fortson, signed a 1-year, $1.2 million deal with us. Big guy, athletic, 6'4". Like you said, went up in the offseason, you've seen all these clips of him getting these balls, jumping up super high, extremely swaggy, cool visor, cool gear. Unfortunately for him, he's been, you know, bit by the injury bug. In 2021, he tore his Achilles. Last year, before the start of the season, he messed up his shoulder, had to get surgery. I believe if it wasn't for the injuries, he'd still be on this Chiefs team. You know, it's kind of a tough hill to climb playing behind Travis Kelce, getting some playing time. But, you know, it's interesting because he's coming from a winner. You know, Travis Kelce in that room, obviously getting the ball thrown to by Patrick Mahomes. He's definitely going to have the stuff. He's seen what it takes to be a winner. He's seen what greatness is in Travis Kelce. So you'd like to think that maybe he can put it together and become a really solid piece for us and maybe get something going, you know?
I think that's another thing to be valued, though, coming from a championship team, seeing what it takes to win.
Yeah.
I do think that's an important thing. and hopefully he could bring some of that with him. The same way Tyreek Hill actually brought some of that winning mentality from Kansas City over to Miami. Maybe he can also inject some of that into our room.
And that's a really good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
He came from the Chiefs, and you saw exactly as soon as Tyreek came in, he showed what type of work ethic you have to have, and instantly made us into a winner. And I know it's because of his God-given talent, but also his work ethic. He practices like it's 100% every single time. You've heard Mike McDaniel say it. You've heard Tua say it. So if this guy can come in with the same mentality, man, you'd love to even think that maybe he can even climb up the ranks eventually, you know?
It looks like the ability is there for him. Super athletic guy. And another thing that I like is that, another thing that's interesting is that he actually played wide receiver in college.
Yeah.
Much like the Tanner Connor situation that we have, it looks like he's just a little further along in his development.
Yeah, he also played basketball, so definitely
so he's
an
just an
athletic
athlete,
guy.
just an
He's
athlete overall.
Yeah. And I think obviously we're leaving Julian Hill off our list. My reasoning for that is because I truly think that he's someone that you can sneak onto the practice squad, because I don't think anyone's going to be knocking at your door trying to pick him up, you know? So maybe sneak him onto your practice squad. Another year with John Embry. We all know how great he is as a tight ends coach. Another year in Mike McDaniel's system, can develop. I think it's extremely valuable because I can see him becoming possibly the replacement for Durham Smythe.
Okay,
that solid guy.
So you're saying, maybe take him down and then continue developing him.
Demote to promote.
Demote to promote.
I think that's pretty cool.
That's not a bad idea, actually. You give Smythe his last season in Miami. You keep developing Julian Hill on the cheap.
Yeah.
And promote him again. And then now you have that big physical tight end that can help you with the run blocking game. And so I like that idea. I think that could work.
And you'd like to think that, it saves you some money. The Dolphins need to get extremely creative with who they're bringing up, who they're developing, who they're possibly cutting. And if you can just, I guess, squeeze every bit of juice out of the lemon as far as getting talent, getting much needed, depth from every position, and squeezing any little juice out of these guys to make them serviceable at least, right? Because Smythe is serviceable. He doesn't do anything crazy. You'd like to think that Julian Hill can develop into that. He's a very raw player. Also an undrafted rookie last year. Mm-hmm. Surprising that he even made the roster, but it just goes to show how thin we were at tight end. So bringing in these two guys, obviously Jonu Smith's making the team, but Jody Fortson, to go back to him, I really do think he has a huge opportunity. Obviously, a huge opportunity to make the team, but obviously he does have more experience in the league, despite not really playing that much. But
hopefully he can stay healthy. But it's interesting to see what the Dolphins have done this offseason, bringing in Jonu Smith and then now Jody Fortson, because it looks like they're going for a type, you know? So I do see,
maybe they're transitioning out of that, trying to get away from Durham Smythe in a sense, right? Is that what you're trying to say?
It could be that. The only thing is that what's driving me crazy is that there's only one ball you can throw. Yeah. We have all of these weapons. I guess what's making this fun is you don't know where the ball's going to go. Yeah. You bring in these two tight ends. You also brought in OBJ. To your point, you're talking about Devon Achane. Consider maybe him possibly lining up at wide receiver too, and it's like, geez, that's got to drive a defense, give them nightmares,
But to add on to your point, you're saying we have so many guys that you don't know where the ball's going to go. I think our problem last year was we knew exactly where the ball was going to go, right? Yeah. So maybe their approach was it's way too easy. We know exactly what's going on in this offense.
Okay, but can we commit to that? Can we commit to that? Because that's something that
I think Mike McDaniel sees that.
Okay.
Mike McDaniel is literally looking at this and saying, hey, you know what? We were predictable last year. Tyreek or Waddle are getting the ball. Let's bring in these guys. Obviously, OBJ, we needed that third receiver. Now, Jonu Smith, very capable tight end that can turn it loose whenever. You know that he can.
Playmaker, like you said, yards after the catch guy.
Bro, this guy in Tennessee would get little screens and go off. Like, literally, a little dump off, and he's just going 60 yards.
Yeah, for
you know?
a big guy, he can move.
He
can move.
And he's huge. He's huge. I mean, he's not huge in height, but I'm saying, like, he's a really solid dude.
Yeah.
And he can definitely move. He ran a 4.6. So, with that's like Mike Gesicki speed. And we like, freaked out over
Mike
his speed.
Gesicki, his speed did not translate to the field.
He had long speed, right? But he wasn't quick.
Yeah.
He just had those big strides. But
I don't
to
think
get
that works
him
for the
going
NFL.
was like, it's like a train, right? You know, when the train's like,
It
you
took
see
too
how it
long.
goes.
Like, he couldn't take 2 steps without
Yeah.
being tackled.
It's true.
And I was a huge Gesicki fan, but
I was too. You were hoping that he was gonna develop into something huge. And
yeah,
he-
really
he's-
turn the corner and
Yeah,
be
we
that
really
guy.
thought he was going to, right?
Just
But
never really
it's
happened.
it's crazy. In that draft, I was extremely excited again. It was either him or Dallas Goddard, right?
Oh yeah.
And I was like, no, please Gesicki, please Gesicki. It turned out that Goddard was maybe the better tight end to get. But
You know, well, to your point of, spreading the ball around, hopefully they really do commit to that. And I think the run game is going to be an emphasis this year too. It's just, it's so weird because it's just like you bring in all these pass catchers. You want to emphasize the run game too. How do you do everything at the same time? you
Yeah.
know? And then I would love for Tyreek to get 2,000 yards. That would be super cool to witness. But at the same time, it has to be under a winning season. Like, it can't be like, let's go out there and get Tyreek 2,000 yards and break records. Like, I don't really care to break records if we're not winning games.
I just
It has to be under the context of winning games.
I think if Tyreek gets 2,000 yards, we're doing something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're falling back into the same. It's madness because we're falling back into what we did last year, and I think last year we were way too one-dimensional, and I think Tyreek getting that, it just, I don't know, it'll mess you up. Like,
Yeah,
we don't need that. We need to spread the ball around. I think we can't be predictable, and I truly think that McDaniel bringing in these tight ends, he's definitely going for a different look.
Mm-hmm. I think also, yeah, like, okay, let's just say, okay, because 5,000 is a big number when it comes to yards,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's like
It's huge.
That's like the magic number for quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
5,000 yards in a season. So, all right, let's do some quick math.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put, Tyreek Hill,
16,
1,600 yards. Let's get another, 13
for Waddle.
for Waddle.
It's
Okay,
29.
so 2,900.
Mm-hmm.
Let's give
700 to OBJ.
700 OBJ.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we at? 3,600.
3,600.
Let's give another 600 to
Jonu?
Jonu.
Okay.
We said we were at 36, so now
42.
we're at 42. So we have 800 yards
To play with.
to play with, and we're gonna give some of that maybe, to
to Malik Washington, Azukama, maybe some of the running backs.
Malik Washington,
You can.
Ezekanma,
How about we just
some of the
rest
running backs.
just
between them,
split it amongst
800.
them? Yeah.
Actually, I'm curious to see now. Can you pull it up there? Maybe how many receiving yards did Devon have last year?
Devon.
Yeah.
Devon Achan.
Yeah.
Achan. Sorry. Achan.
Yeah, between him, Mostert, Jalen Wright, Jody Fortson. I think Tua. I think it's a reality that Tua, if he stays healthy for 17 games, I think he can end up with those 5,000 yards this year.
Yeah.
So, I was just wondering because what would look like
He had 197 last year and 3
197.
touchdowns.
Wow, that's actually okay. That's more than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
So an easy 200 for Devon, and he didn't even play a full
He
season.
barely played, man. He
Yeah.
played 11 games last year.
11 games last year.
So,
Okay.
I mean, it's crazy. He almost had 1,000 all-purpose yards last year in his
Mm-hmm.
rookie year, and he only played 11 games. Like that guy's the ultimate weapon,
Yeah.
and that's why it was in our last video, or the video before
Yeah, that was in the video before that. We'll
The first video.
add a card here.
Yeah, but when we're getting into Devon Achan, that you really do want him to develop into that ultimate weapon, yeah, and possibly have that receiver role because, man, it reminds me so much of Tyreek Hill, and I would love for him to end up being a Tyreek Hill because that means for 10 more years we're gonna have a Tyreek Hill and a Jalen Waddle type. Hopefully 10 years. You never know in football, but if they can have long careers, for sure.
Yeah, that would be really cool. And it looks like Jonu's really enjoying being in Miami. So
yeah, he's FIU. I think he actually lives here. So he was. If we roll this clip,
yeah, let's roll.
Everything's been going great, man. Definitely getting acclimated. Always always good to be around, and during the phase 1, 2, and 3. Just getting used to your teammates, man. Building that camaraderie, building that chemistry. It's been going awesome. Excited to be here.
How similar is this to anything that you've run in your past?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of familiar concepts. I've been around this offense for quite some time now, and my first stint in Tennessee, and obviously in Atlanta. So coming in a lot more comfortable with the terminology, a lot more comfortable with the concepts, and knowing what we want done as an offense. So I would say that the transition for me has been a pretty smooth one.
Have you had the chance to visit FIU since you've been back?
I have, man. Being, this is home. I'm a stone's throw away from where part of my journey started. So it's it's very humbling, man. I'm every day I wake up and I still feel like I'm dreaming. Because there's no place I'd rather be, and there's no better place for me. So again, man, I'm just beyond excited to be a Dolphin.
And when you look at this offense and the potential, do you think it's possible to have 3 1,000-yard plus pass catch?
Man, the sky's the limit with these guys, man. And I feel like I've said this every year, literally, because, it's been my honest opinion. And that's just the way my career has went. That's just the journey that I've been on and the people that I've been around. But this is by far the most explosive, talented, stacked team, I've ever been a part of. I'm not even going to say offensively, just as far as the team. Now, what does that mean right now in the beginning of June? Nothing, right? You got to go out there, continue to put the work in. And we all know that, and we all believe in that. So, as long as we had a mindset that we know who we are and what we can do and come in here and work with that mindset, I think we'll be very satisfied with the results.
Final question, guys?
How does Father's Day look for you?
I appreciate it, man. No doubt. It's gonna be me and my 4 babies. You know what I mean? And my wife by my side, and family. So definitely excited. It's good to be home. You know what I mean? Good to be home with my kids and ain't got to travel. So looking forward to it.
So yeah, it's cool. He gets to stay home essentially, and
Yeah, he looks like a cool dude.
yeah, man, dope. I'm loving our team, man, and I think if you see all the additions that we make too, I feel like they're so strategic. First of all, with the cap situation, like I know Greer's maneuvering this in a way that we're not in cap hell, and we can actually stay competitive and sustain that for a while. But the moves that we're making are these guys that are gonna grind. They're dogs. They're also, they all seem like really good locker room dudes and like people you want to go and grab a beer with,
Yeah.
Like they got your back. You get me? So I'm really excited for that, man. And finally, like I said, McDaniel has his guy at tight end. I really do think Jonu's that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool too. Especially with the comparison that you're making with
Kittle?
With Kittle.
Mhm.
I really like that. I think it's the next step in this offense, the evolution of this offense.
For sure.
But- Jeez, can you imagine? We already know what it looks like to have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and now you add an OBJ,
It gets you going,
and
man.
then this is the second year of the Devon
you-
Achane, experience here, and now you bring in a guy like Jonu Smith, and I'm loving the potential of Jody Fortson. I'm going nuts with the potential of these, this year.
And
this
it's
year's
crazy,
offense.
man. I know we just started this podcast, so people are trying to get a good feel of who we are,
No,
right?
we're homers.
And
We're homers.
we are somewhat homers, but at the same time, you have to be blind if you're not excited about this team. Like you have to be blind or a bitter Dolphins fan. I know there's a lot of them
recognize.
after there. Huh?
I recognize there are some.
There are
Hansel, you know what we're talking about.
Yeah,
you.
we're referring to one of our uncles, a bitter Dolphins fan. He's
To his defense, though, he's been waiting for
50 years.
50
50
years.
years. And you know us, 30 years, nothing crazy.
Yeah.
But listen, regardless, it's been a long time. I haven't seen winning or a winning culture in my whole life. Seeing it now is something beautiful. So I get why there's bitterness, but there's so much to look forward to with this team. And I think McDaniel's constantly finding a way to improve it. I think Greer and him working in tandem, these guys they know where to take a step back and be like, all right, you take over this for me. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? And that's a good question. I actually want to ask everybody, watching right now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that the culture has changed for Miami? It seems like things are a little bit different. It just seems like we're a winner. We expect big things out of this team.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. Actually,
Expectations are different now.
That's what it is. That's why people are so bitter. And I'm trying to wrap my head around it because when the hell have we seen? Like, we haven't seen this in a while. The only time I've really
back-to-back playoffs.
Yeah, man,
that's big for us.
Like, the expectations are high, so that's just it's going to show people that say that Tua sucks. Then why do you expect so much out of him?
Yeah.
If he sucks so bad, right? But it's because they know he's a winner. They know Tua's got it. They just don't want to. They don't want to admit it,
Yeah.
And it goes back to the team. Yes, we have developed this winning culture now, so the expectations are through the roof. It's like Super Bowl or bust every year now.
I know Tua's not everybody's cup of tea. I just don't really understand why. This is someone that has faced so much adversity and is such a good guy, such a humble dude.
It's such a good story,
Yeah, and he's faced so much scrutiny too, like over the years, and being mismanaged with Brian Flores and almost being replaced, even though one of those guys was Tom Brady, like we said in the last show. But still, like, Tua's been here through all of that. He's exceeding expectations every season. He's answering questions every single season. And this guy's about to get this huge contract, and he deserves it.
Yeah.
I'm really proud of him, and I'm proud to be a Dolphins fan. I'm proud that he's my quarterback, and I'm looking forward to see what the next step that he takes in his career, because I think this year is going to be different too. He's added some more to his game. We went over the lean, mean Tua situation. I don't want to see him run the ball too much, but I really am excited to see the next step in his evolution.
And it's cool, man, like, because I agree with you 100%. I love Tua.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that I'm a Tua stan, like people say. If
Yeah.
you support your quarterback, apparently it's a bad thing.
Oh, and by the way, your quarterback can't have help. Like, he can't. Like,
Yeah, of
I think
course.
Tua is expected to throw the ball to himself.
It makes sense.
I
Makes
don't.
sense.
That's
It's
another
like
thing.
NFL Street, right?
Yeah,
you
like, he
gotta
can't-
bounce it off the wall, catch it, run it all the way.
It's just crazy. Like, what? So when Patrick Mahomes, like, nobody put him on a cross for having Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill.
no, at
You
all.
know, nobody was saying anything to about Joe Burrow starting his career with the receiving core that he had,
Bro. I mean, or Justin Herbert.
or Justin Herbert.
Uh,
Which now we're gonna see what Justin Herbert looks like, without his guys.
yeah, Deshaun Watson with Hopkins. I mean, dude, Tua essentially, bro, he started off his career with trash. His best receiver was Mac Hollins.
Most of the receivers that Tua had to start his career aren't even in the NFL anymore.
No.
So,
Who are
but the thing is, look, it doesn't matter who you are as
we don't
a
even have to get
quarterback.
into that, but-
It doesn't matter who you are as a quarterback. You need talent at the receiver position.
You do, man. It's at the end of the day, why is everyone awarded that, and then Tua, it's like, oh, he's got Tyreek Hill. and,
It's a weird thing with Tua. I guess maybe I am a Tua stan. I love Tua. I think he's great for the Dolphins. I think he's great for the NFL.
Yeah.
I think he's overall a good person, and he deserves to be where he's at.
Hey,
And
listen,
I'm proud of him.
Above all else, I am a Dolphins fan, but it just so happens that Tua is my quarterback on my favorite team, so I'm gonna support him.
Right.
And I don't get why you would bash him. Like, I understand there's been some inconsistencies that I think with time now coming into this year, he can prove some other things, like, knock off those narratives. But man,
I'm not blind to Tua not winning the big games either. It's not
Of
something
course.
I'm like, oh, that's okay. No, I acknowledge that. Tua needs to step it up in the big games.
I agree.
And
I
I'm not
agree.
saying that he's scot-free. Like he still needs to develop. He needs to get better at some things, but he is one of the top quarterbacks in the league right now.
Do you think he's capable of winning those games?
Of course he is.
Okay,
That's
all it is.
There is some context too to the losses in these games.
Some of them, yes.
And
you know what? Tua could have played better in certain games.
For sure.
But, this is a team sport. At the end of the day, it takes every single player on that field to will you to win. It's not just one. And I know it's the biggest part of the game, but
something too, it's like Tyreek Hill, the best receiver in the NFL right now, he had a lot of drops last season.
Yeah, man, and some key drops, Joe.
Some key drops in some big games.
Man.
Yeah, the Eagles game was one of them.
That Eagles game, the Chiefs game,
the Cowboys game,
and
I love Tyreek Hill.
The Ravens game.
It's gonna happen. I mean, hopefully and this is why you bring in a guy like OBJ with the hands,
And you can't get mad at him either, bro. Because
you can't.
Like, I understand. Okay, look,
he's the best receiver in the NFL.
It's unfortunate that in those biggest games he's doing that, and I'm not gonna sit here and say, oh, it's because it was in those big games that maybe he's nervous or anything like that. It's not the case. It's just unfortunate. But with a string of better luck, the Dolphins are gonna make some noise this year. I really do think so. I'm super pumped.
Having said that, though, I think that Tyreek Hill is the reason why we've seen this culture shift. I think it happened also at a point where obviously Mike McDaniel is coming in at the same time as Tyreek Hill, but those two together have just infused a different kind of energy into our fan base, into our team, the franchise in total. It's a beautiful thing what they've been able to do in the past 2 seasons.
Well, yeah, if we actually that leads me into this. I want to ask you this question, but let's play this clip really fast.
Ensuring I'm a Dolphin for life. That's number one, man. That's priority number one, man. But this is obviously the best situation for myself and the family. But I don't think it could get any better. Whether it's just the living establishment, the state, the taxes, just everything, the weather, just everything that comes with just living in Miami is just beautiful, man. So we love it. And it's awesome, man, just to be here. Coaches are wonderful, teammates are wonderful, man, and I'm like 20-minute flight from the Bahamas, so I can just go to Baja Mar anytime I want to, man, and do what I got to do. You feel me?
Regarding your status in the league, we know you're obviously one of the top receivers. Do you think you should always be paid like that? Should always be maybe a top 5 paid receiver?
Oh yeah, for sure. That's like I feel like people should. I feel like at the end of the day, if you feel like you top 5 at something, that's like if you work at Amazon. If you like one of the best Amazon delivery drivers, you're gonna feel a certain type of way. You're gonna go to your boss and say, hey bro, I'm doing 100 routes and this person only doing 65 routes. I'm supposed to be the top paid person. You feel me? So if you feel like you deserve something, go get it. You feel me? Top 5 all day.
How do you feel about Tua?
So yeah, him basically begging for us to do a new deal with him, to keep him in Miami forever. He's saying it. I want to be in here. I want to stay with this team forever. That's the culture that he helped build.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So this is kind of his mold as well with McDaniel. Do you think the Dolphins would be crazy not to give him what he wants?
Of course. It's just really hard for the Dolphins right now. There's so many things going on. You got Tua, and what do you make of the whole decision with his number now? You just paid Waddle. You're essentially going to be paying, or already are, you're paying 2 number 1 receivers, and Tyreek Hill's asking for more money.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are going to get a deal done, and obviously Tyreek Hill really wants to get that deal done. They're going to figure something out.
You just have to, but to your point that you will be paying 2 number 1s, because that is the money that you will be paying him as well. That's the trend, though. That's what this league is coming to.
I think that is a trend, and I think it's here to stay for a long time.
Yeah.
I think that's something that teams across the NFL are looking to do. You either get with it or get lost.
Yeah, man, it's a pass-happy league. There's a reason why they're not paying running backs, with the exception of, McCaffrey getting his money, but
Offensive weapon.
He deserves it. Devon Achane, exactly. And we're talking about a guy in Devon Achane. He averaged 7.4 yards per carry. Dude, that guy's a freak, man.
Mhm.
Like as a running back and
Mhm.
hopefully we can put him in at a wide receiver. But that's Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is a weapon. He can do anything, And it brings me back to that game. Remember, we fumbled the ball against the Chargers. It wasn't last year; it was the year before that. We couldn't get anything going. He just comes out with the ball out of nowhere, goes around the whole field, takes it the whole way. Like I'm
That guy's
saying,
ridiculous.
he's ridiculous. The Dolphins would be crazy. Give him what he wants, and
Yeah.
and you make it work from there. And I get it. You don't want to be in cap hell. I get it. He's 31 years old, right? 31, I believe. But man, even if you only get 2 or 3 more years of this same guy, that's 3 more years of having the best weapon. It's gonna sound crazy ever on your
Okay.
team. Tyreek Hill is built in a different mold. No one can ever replicate what he is. People can possibly get close to it, but we're talking about a legend. We're talking about an icon. This guy is like a Randy Moss icon. Like, yo,
Yeah.
you got Moss. Like,
And
there's gonna be something, right?
There's something to that too. I think that what Tyreek Hill wanted, getting away from Kansas City, coming to Miami, he wasn't getting the recognition that he deserved, I feel, at that time. Or at least that he believed he deserved. It's Patrick Mahomes' show, and that's not going to change. We acknowledge Travis Kelce. We acknowledge Tyreek Hill's time with him. But ultimately, that's Kansas City belongs to Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Here in Miami, Tyreek Hill's the man. You got Tua, who's balling.
Or it can also be a 1A, 1B show,
It
right?
could be a 1A, 1B show, but still, Tyreek Hill came over here. He changed the culture. He brought some of that winning mentality to Kansas City. Hopefully this season we can get over the hump. But Tyreek Hill, and I think this is another reason why he wants to stay here, he built this. This is his home. This is
Yeah.
something that he's created.
Literally his home, too,
So-
because he lives here in the offseason, right?
Yeah, so it's a beautiful thing. Tyreek Hill has changed the culture here. That's why he wants to stay. This is his baby,
Yeah. And it's hard to ignore the off the field stuff, right? All the crazy things that he's gotten into, and I don't have to go into detail about that because if you follow the Dolphins, you know what's going on, right?
Yeah.
But all that stuff, during the season, it doesn't matter. You're not hearing about that type of stuff. He's extremely locked in. His goal is to win. He knows what it feels like to win, and he really does want to bring that to Miami. And you hear him in these interviews.
Yeah,
He's
you can
constantly
see that.
saying it. And you can see it, yeah. He's hard on himself, too. Like, he leads by example, and that's on the field. If we're almost like a quarterback approach. If we're losing, he's like, damn, it's my fault. Like,
You know, though, to be completely honest, and I do think he really wants to win, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. Or maybe I'm not sure how to feel about him coming out and saying, hey, I'm going for 2K before the season starts.
Yeah.
The reason why I don't like that, it's like that's not what's important right now, bro. Like let's get into the season. Let's win some games. If you're close, towards the end of the season, maybe we could put a little bit of emphasis on it as long as we're winning those games. But let's focus on the wins right now, man.
Yeah,
Don't bring the 2K into this before the season even starts.
Yeah, and you're setting those expectations, and that's adding extra pressure to your quarterback because it's like you want 2K, I need to get you the ball then, right?
Yeah.
And obviously you want to try your hardest to get Tyreek the ball because that is a home run every time he touches it.
But it
right?
has to be the
Almost.
right play
It
at
has
the
to be
right
play.
time.
It can't be forced.
Right.
Is my thing. And you saw in the last 2 years a bit of it was forced. Like shit, nothing's happening. Throw to Tyreek, and it's like that would cause interceptions and like boneheaded plays that Tua's having this hell of a game, and then all of a sudden you're like, why did he make that throw?
I feel like Tyreek Hill's first season in Miami, the distribution was a little bit more balanced between him and Waddle.
Yeah.
This
We
year,
talked
it
about
seemed
that.
like it was heavy on Tyreek Hill. Maybe some of that is because Jalen Waddle was a little banged up.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe that's the reason why. Even still, the distribution was a little lopsided, in my opinion.
Extremely.
You bring in all these weapons, and I'm just hoping that they don't get ignored.
You want Tua to go back to not last year, the year before that, right? That Tua was more like a surgeon, man.
Point guard.
He was a point guard. He was like a I don't even want to say Steph Curry, like a CP3, right?
Yeah.
Like a Chris Paul. He was just dishing it out, Bro, he'd throw it to Craycraft. He'd throw it to Waddle, then Hill. Bro, it was just like all over the field, right?
Yeah.
And last year, it just felt like we were like...
It was Tua, Tyreek.
Spoon-feeding Tyreek to get to that 2K, right? 2K until the end of the season when he had to sit out a game. It's like, all right, we know we can't get that now, so, oh, shit, let's try something different, right? But even then, we had gone so long with that same game plan that by the end of the year, there was no creativity left. It was just like, all right, if Hill's not in the game, it was Waddle.
There has to be some creativity coming into this season,
especially with a guy like Mike McDaniel. He can cook up some stuff.
But
there's gonna be crazy stuff. I'm sure of it.
I'm thinking it's gonna be something that has to do with these tight ends. Now you don't bring them in for nothing.
Yeah.
And then talking about Devon playing wide receiver, there has to be a lot of creativity that's gonna be infused.
Yeah, he kept saying Devon, and I'm like,
is it Devon Devon?
No, but you keep saying Devon, so I'm like Devon Best, and I'm like, wait, Chan.
Oh, Devon Best.
It was tripping me out.
He was cool.
Shout out Best, man. That was bro. That was like literally my favorite guy on the team.
Yeah,
for
I remember
little,
that.
and it's so crazy to see how far we've come. That we have guys like Jalen Ramsey, Odell Beckham, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Obviously, like we brought him up, but it's just like we have this Madden team, and we're just like picking and choosing these players. And
bro, we came from a time where the biggest name we had on the team was Mike Wallace.
Yeah.
The biggest name we had
on
the team was
Wallace,
Sue.
Man.
These were the additions that we were bringing in.
But it was always one at a time, right?
One big name,
and it was like for multiple years, nothing, and then they'll be off the team. Then you get this other guy like Brandon Marshall. I remember when we made that trade, I was super excited.
Super excited.
But
Brandon Marshall's like, get me the fuck out of here.
I mean, it was trash, man.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't want to be here at that point. Beautiful Miami, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
But he had his career to play out.
Of course, man. But like all in all, with everything,
the culture's different now.
The culture's different. This offense is, what I love is I feel like this offseason was kind of, I feel like Chris Greer was trying to line up the defense with the offense, right?
Yeah.
Bringing in the talent. Sorry. But yeah, bringing in like a guy like Kendall Fuller, Jordan Brooks, Jordan Poyer, these low budget moves, but like it's gonna make all the difference to our defense. So if we can have a balanced attack on both sides,
it's like low budget, high impact moves.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. Yeah, bro. Like I know we went over this as well, but Calais Campbell at $2 million compared to Christian Wilkins $28 million or $27 million annual average.
What's interesting about that is that these guys are coming off contracts where they were making way more.
Yeah, but that's
so then they come down here and they're like, bro, I'll take the scraps. I just want to play for Miami.
That's why it's such a deal, and I think a lot of Dolphins fans misconstrue that. Like they're like, oh, he's signing for a low deal, so he must be ass. No, he's not. He just came off a pretty big deal, but it might just be a testament to the culture that we've created here. Like
right.
You're like, yeah, I wouldn't mind playing in South Beach for a year and make $2 million,
and possibly win a ring.
Play for a super nice coach, pleasant guy to be around. You know what I'm saying?
Can we just win a playoff game?
It's gonna come. Listen, I'm more confident than ever, and I'm not saying that means a lot. What I think, because at the end of the day, we're all Dolphins fans, so the off season's always the high for us. You get into the year and it's misery.
Yeah.
But if we can turn it around this year, man, and start off the same way we did last year, but not have that decline, that fall off a cliff at the end of the year.
Yeah.
More so to say, like, bro, we can do something special.
Right.
Like, this can be a very special team.
Yeah, we just got to win enough games to stay out of that cold weather.
And
bring the playoffs into Miami.
It kind of leads me, we have all these guys, right, that need to get paid, and it leads me into this Javon Holland situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's it's kind of scary because you expect Anthony Weaver to drop some crazy stuff. I'm really excited about that addition as well, having him as a defensive coordinator. Do you think that he's going to put Javon Holland in a position to essentially, I guess, price himself out of Miami for that extension? Because we know he's up for one right now, and this is basically he's a free agent after this year. Do you think that it's going to be difficult to re-sign him?
Well, I think there's a few things to consider. Number one, it's all the guys that we have to pay. Some of the guys that we just paid. Jalen Waddle, I believe he's either the fourth or fifth highest paid wide receiver right now.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill's asking for more money. You also have to get Tua off of his rookie deal and make him possibly the highest paid quarterback in the NFL right now.
Jalen Phillips
is coming up for his extension. So that's one point. The Dolphins have a lot of people to pay. The next point is that he's going to be playing alongside Jordan Poyer, Marcus May.
Yeah.
You also have Ramsey locking up one side, Kendall Fuller locking up the other. This guy's going to be free roaming, making plays, getting his hands on the ball.
And you'd like to think that Jordan Poyer is going to, steer him in the right direction. He's going to teach him. He's going to give him some of that knowledge throughout his
give
years,
him some pointers.
Yeah, because Jordan Poyer is awesome. Obviously, one of the best tight ends in the league for many years.
So I think on one side have
safeties. I said tight ends.
So on one side you have the Dolphins, who have a lot of what seems like a lot of financial decisions to make, possible restrictions coming up in the future. And then on the other, I expect him to have an amazing season with all the talent surrounding him.
Yeah.
Him playing out another year, he's going to ask for big money.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. It doesn't look like – I think there is a deal that we could mirror. Hopefully we can get that deal done sometime soon, because this is probably the last chance we'll be able to get that deal done. And that's with someone like Kyle Duggar. The Patriots signed him to, I believe it's a 4-year, $66 million contract.
Mm-hmm.
If the Dolphins can get a deal done like that for Javon Holland, I think that might work out in everybody's favor.
I think it's coming. Obviously, if we play this clip here, he's definitely going for the bag. So yeah, he's going for the. One of his guys, Antoine Winfield Jr., just got paid as well. He got a 4-year, $84.1 million extension. That's basically a $21 million average a year.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to think he's going for something like that, right? And obviously, if he doesn't get an extension coming into this year, it's put up or shut up, because this is the last year on your deal. If you're not deserving of that contract, obviously you're not going to get it. But I'd like to think the Dolphins are going to try to get something done. I just think it's going to be like a Christian Wilkins situation. He's going to price himself out. He wants that money. You said this off camera before, but basically this is his first deal, right? So he's going to want to get paid.
Yeah.
This is going to set him up for the rest of his life. So if Miami doesn't abide to what he wants, he's going to be like, "Hey, look, I love you guys, but peace out."
Business is business.
It's business is
the
business.
market is the market, right, Tua?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and it's go ahead.
It's his first big boy contract.
Yeah, exactly.
So he's going to be looking for that money, and you can't blame him.
And it was a bit of a disappointing season last year, because he couldn't stay on the field. But you'd like to think that if he did stay on the field, looking at his numbers, he could have done something better. Only 12 games. He obviously missed 5. He still was able to force 3 fumbles. So, it takes me back to that Broncos game where he was able to punch out the ball twice. It was like that peanut punch.
Yeah.
He's going to unlock a different part of his game, and that's what leads me to think he's just going to price himself out of Miami. I really do think so. I don't think we're going to be able to pay this guy.
Yeah, so they have to try to get a deal done soon. For me, if I were Chris Greer, right now I would just lay out a little Kyle Duggar blueprint and say, "Hey, this is what we could do for you."
What are the numbers again on Kyle Duggar?
It was like 4 years, $66 million.
4 years, okay. Yeah, I'm comfortable with that if we can do that, right?
If he'll take it.
4-year, what? 60?
66.
66. Okay. Yeah, that's if he takes that,
That's
man,
money.
I think you take it to the bank, man. Like,
Yeah, and
you
maybe
go for
he
it.
acknowledges, like, you know what? This is a special team, a special culture that they're building around
Special
here.
players.
Special players.
Yeah.
Maybe he's like, yeah, fuck it. I'll take it. Let's
Yeah.
go. Let's ride. I don't have to think about this.
I don't know, but in that interview that we saw, it felt like he's like, dude, I want my money. Like, I don't know. He seems like he's like, I'm coming for it. Like,
Hey,
I need
money
that.
talks, man.
Money talks, man. I listen. I think it's great to have him around. Like I said earlier, I really do want to keep him as far as that Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips, and him in that same draft class. If you can keep them around, have them be the center point of your team for years to come. Like those are the key guys along with Tua. But that's a recipe for success because now you just add in those little pieces. You have these guys that can steer people the right way. They're leaders essentially because they will be for years to come. But I get it. There's a business side to this, and there's only so much money you can throw around. So
Yeah.
But let's see, man. I'm not confident we'll get a deal done, but I'm hoping we do get one done.
I'm hoping so too. But yeah, we also have this Bradley Chubb situation. Do you think it's going to be his last year in Miami?
I do, man. I do, just because you're looking at the way the Dolphins went about the draft, and obviously there was a need for it, a need to go after Chop Robinson to draft Mo Camara because we were so thin at the position. But there's also another aspect to it, and that's Bradley Chubb's contract. Essentially, after this year, we can get out of his contract without any repercussions. So you'd like to think that the draft was basically to get that replacement in already, give them a year, and then, basically say peace. Bye, Bradley Chubb. We've loved what you've done for us here. Had a great year last year with 11 sacks. But, there is the key thing that you've had 3 ACL injuries throughout your life.
That's huge.
Yeah, and I don't want to say career because this was, unless you consider high school career too. But in high school, he tore it. And I think his rookie year, he tore it again. And now he tore a different ACL. So
The
it's
other side.
The other side, exactly. So it was the left and right. In both knees, he's torn it a total of 3 times.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah, my knees are starting to hurt now.
Yeah,
Just
man.
talking
That's
about that.
You can't feel comfortable continuing to pay that guy for all these years with that many injuries, and you're like, it's happened 3 times. You'd have to think that it's gonna happen again. Not like to think, but you think that it will happen again. So, yeah, I think we would have to move off of him. Do I think he would recover? I think he will recover. I think he's gonna still be very productive, but I just wouldn't feel comfortable with a guy at that age to continue to pay him. And especially when you have this young talent coming in, Jalen Phillips needs to get paid. So you'd like to maybe move off of him, pay Jalen Phillips, have a young guy, maybe
Chop Robinson.
Yeah,
develop.
repeat the cycle, I guess.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I don't think we can.
I also believe the Dolphins are probably going to be moving off of him, not because of the kind of player he is, because you saw last year how effective he was. He was having a dominant season, but
yeah, and looking back to when he got hurt that week against it was the Ravens. We were getting blown out. There was 3 minutes left to go. We were down by 30.
Yeah.
I was like, I still remember the screams, man, on that play. It was disgusting. But I feel like at that point, that's when I was like, it sucks to say, but I gave up on the season. It sounds crazy because it's not like Bradley Chubb was the difference maker for us to win.
We had just lost so many pieces.
Exactly, man. And like you look at it with Andrew Van Ginkel, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips. I'm just naming.
And when did Xavier hurt his foot? When was that?
I believe against the Titans, right? Was it
I don't
the Titans?
remember. It was,
but
just,
Xavier out as well. Like
that Titans game was brutal. So many players go down.
But this also provides context to something that we were talking about earlier with losing that playoff game, that wild card game. There's only so much Tua could do, right? But if your whole team is depleted and you got guys coming off the street to play defensive end for you, the week of the biggest game of your I guess, season, right? Some guys' lives, career as well for Tua, because that's his first playoff game that he was able to play in. Mind you, he's only 0 for 1, right? In record-breaking cold, all that. Like, there's factors to why he lost this game, playing the eventual champions as well.
Yeah.
I kind of got a little fluttered. What point was I trying to make?
I don't even know.
But well, whatever. Damn.
Yeah, Bradley Chubb.
Oh, because I was talking about Bradley Chubb and the fact that, you know, that game, how it deflated my season. After that, I was like, okay, I kind of put my hands in the air. This season's a wash. Screw it. So I was disappointed in losing, but did you go into that Kansas City game like, yo, we're gonna win this shit? Did you? At that point? I know I didn't.
I wouldn't bet money on it.
Yeah.
I always believe there's a chance. But if I was being realistic, I knew where we were at that point. Plus, we had already played Kansas City, so I didn't feel great. But I'm always like, we got a chance. You know, as long as you get to the game, you got a chance.
So that can lead me into this question. Actually, do you think Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb will look the same?
I do.
Both.
I do. I think there has to be some context behind that answer, just because if the Dolphins rush them back, for example, like there was a report saying or an article written saying that they could both be ready for the start of the season.
Yeah.
I do think that could be true, because I believe it was a doctor that said that. However, it's probably not the smartest idea.
Yeah,
and that's probably why we drafted Chop Robinson, Mo Camara, brought in a guy like Shaq Barrett. You got Calais Campbell, who could also play on the edge. You have guys that can at least be serviceable and hold down the fort until these guys are truly 110% healthy. Jalen Phillips coming back, he's young. He should be good to go.
You wouldn't want to rush them back, right?
I don't want to rush them back. I think Jalen Phillips might be a little bit closer, because I believe the timetable for an Achilles tear is shorter than an ACL tear.
Not to mention he ruptured it before, you know, before Bradley Chubb's eventual injury, right? But yeah, continue. Sorry, I was interrupting you.
Yeah, so I believe they're going to be okay. I think they'll come back, you know, along the same kind of lines, as long as the Dolphins take the right approach with it.
Yeah.
As long as they don't rush them back, they should be okay.
And McDaniel has said in the past that he doesn't want to rush. You know, he's trying to protect the players against themselves. And he was actually making reference to Jalen Phillips, right?
Well, we saw what happened with the catastrophe that happened with Tua.
Yeah.
And the decision to keep him in that game, that was terrible. Terrible. So,
you're referring to the concussions,
yeah,
right?
McDaniel, it seems like he's learned his lesson and said, you know what, I'm protecting players. It's a terrible look to have.
And that happens. You know, coaches learn as they go as well, man. First time head coach that year, you know, second year. This past season was only his second year. It seems like we've had him for an eternity.
But, yeah, Jalen Phillips should be good to go. You have someone like Cameron Wake, who had an Achilles tear and had one of his best seasons the year after.
Yeah, it was in 2016. Coming off his tear, he had 11.5 sacks and 5 forced fumbles. I mean, and he was a Pro Bowler. So you saw, and that's a similar guy to Jalen Phillips, a physical freak. You see these guys, and they look like Greek gods, right? Like the way they're built.
Yeah.
It's like they're chiseled to the max. So you like to think that Jalen Phillips can actually come back just as strong, right? I don't want to say stronger because whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, you never know. But, yeah, I tend to agree with you there. I think, you know, getting back to Chubb a little bit more, it was in 2019 in high school where we first tore it, right? I have the notes here. He tore his right ACL twice, and this is his first time tearing his left. So
yeah, that's brutal.
That one's a little scary for me. I have all the confidence in the world with Jalen Phillips. I think he's gonna come back, but Chubb is the one that I'm like, ugh, I'm wishy-washy. Like I think he can come back and be productive, but I just don't want to bank on that, you know. So
all in all, though, it does seem like the Dolphins have tried to address the depth issue that we had at the line. So maybe these guys come back in time, or Jalen Phillips comes back in time for the season opener. Maybe he'll be 3 or 4 games into the season.
Yeah.
Bradley Chubb, I'd probably hold him out to midseason just for his own safety.
Yeah,
And if they can stay healthy, and the rest of the defensive line can stay healthy, the defense in total is going to be an absolute unit. Like, wow.
And
wow,
Jalen
wow.
Phillips was such a monster last year.
He was having such a great season.
Yeah, and
So was Bradley, though.
It's crazy, though. That 5-week stretch, he was recording a sack every single game right before his injury. Like, even that same game, he had recorded
Poor
a sack,
dude,
right?
Man. Broke my heart.
Yeah, no, that one was bad.
And that Hard Knocks episode.
Yeah, him crying, all that. But he was starting to come alive. He was starting to live up to his name, right? His draft status, all that. Like, everyone, we've been talking about him for years, thinking like, okay, Phillips is going to be that. He's going to take the leap this year. He's going to take the leap.
He was taking the leap.
He was taking the leap finally. You saw it happening, and then that happened, and you even heard him in the episode. I remember he was like, "Oh, I was balling, man.
Yeah.
Like, shit. Like, and they're crying mostly because, damn, my career. You know what I'm saying? Like, the rest of the season, I was doing something special. So I feel like there is so much motivation for him to get back and to come out just as strong or stronger, maybe. So
Yeah, we'll see.
we'll see, man. But if someone can come back from that, I think it's him. I know he had 6.5 sacks through 8 games in 2023. He didn't play that much.
He had numbers, man.
Yeah. So
Well, yeah.
I think that can wrap it up for
All
today, right?
Yeah. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. And let us know how we're doing. Also, make sure to send your comments through for more entries to the giveaway. We'll be announcing that on the 21st of July. We hope to see you guys in the next one. Fins up.
Thank you, guys. Fins up.